Blade farming started because we needed a much more organised approach into supplying beef into the abattoir I'm also responsible for, which is Southern Counties Fresh Foods in Somerset. And I wanted to find a way of getting much more consistent, dedicated supply into the business. And it was an idea I had in 1999, and what I had to do is find a sustainable way of giving farmers an option to produce the quality beef I was looking for, but also in a much more constructive way, so working with lots of farmers doing the same thing to produce a really good quality end product. We also have a Farmers Producers Club, which is very, very successful in terms of working with dedicated farmers, but we're not prescriptive in terms of the breed, the size, the shape and the feed of the animals that we're having through. So we're basically running two operations in tandem, and Blade is now looking towards the much more niche consumer products, and our Producer Club is looking at much more of the broader scale of farming production systems.
And can you tell me about the structure of blade farming?
Well, we start with the retailer, and the retailer, we work with them to understand the sort of products they're looking for, and that could be in terms of breed, it could be in region, so the southwest, it could be the southwest, and also in terms of feed and the sort of quality product we're looking for the shelf. We then try and translate that into a farm production model. So we then look at how long the animals are on the farm for. So is it an 18-month system, which is a grass-based and indoor finish system, as you're seeing here, or it could be an intensive system using black and white bulls, for example, or even veal. You know, we're looking at veal systems too. So once we've translated the model that we need, we then put that into a contract for a beef finisher, and you'll see on this farm here, Paul Westerway's farm, that he's on a contract based on the system that he's got. And then we also work with dairy farmers to get the right genetics into the cow to produce a good quality calf like the Angus or the Herefords that are on this farm that we know have got the genetic potential to grow well naturally and eat really well once they come through to the abattoir.
We have 3 or 4 enterprises. The main enterprise is finishing Angus Cross Holstein heifers for blade farming, which are on a contract for Tesco's, and Hereford Cross Holsteins, which are on a contract for Summerfield, taking heifers through with grazing to finish them at about 19 months of age. We have a pedigree Angus herd as well, which we're building up slowly. We do some DIY horse livery, and we have a converted barn that we do some holiday cottage accommodation.
And your relationship with blade farming, how did that come about?
Basically, when we came here, we were aware that we needed to farm without subsidy because there's no subsidy on this farm because the subsidy went with a previous tenant. And therefore we were looking for something that was sustainable, profitable, and somebody we could work with in partnership. So looked at the variety of schemes about and investigated the blade one. They came on the farm, spent a day with us, and we liked the message and liked what they were talking about and the way they were forward pricing cattle. So we decided to start working with those guys and haven't looked back since.
What would you say the biggest benefits between your relationship between Blade and yourself?
Well, key thing for us is as we started from scratch, cash flow is everything here. And what I love the most is a group of cattle arrive on the farm, and the day after they'll come along and they'll give me a contract, and I know the final price on those cattle the day they arrive here, 12 months hence, and therefore I can run all our costings and budgets from there, and it's up to me to make sure it's profitable, keep my input costs down, use all the technology that's available to feed cattle now, and do them as well as we can. So I just know when they arrive to these cattle behind us, I can tell you exactly what their pence per kilo will be when they go, and that's a big step forward, as I know what profit they will generate if we keep our costs down.
And how important to you as a farmer would breeding be?
The key thing for us is, you see behind us, we want that you can get 34 finished animals in a truck and trailer from here down to the abattoir at Langport. So I need them in groups of 34, and I need those 34 to be as similar as they possibly can. So ideally for me, they're all one breed, and ideally they would be all by one sire, and we can get them even more consistent and get them out the door a little bit quicker. And certainly the 400-day and 600-day EBVs that are available are very reliable, and therefore the better bulls finish about a month earlier than the average bulls. Well, I want them all by that bull like that, if you like, to make sure I get them out a month quicker. The customer will be happy because they'll have better eating quality because they'll be a month younger, and I can get them out, keep the shed cleaned out, put some new little ones back in again.
Originally, why did you see a need for something like Blade?
I think the need was really driven through frustration from me, because when you see the quality of the animals coming through the plant, which are excellent quality, but they vary so much in age, breed and size, and the frustration is, how are we going to translate that into a retail pack to excite customers at the retail end, to get them coming back every time because the taste experience is consistent. And the only way I could really do that was to be very specific in the breeding and finishing systems. So we have 3,500 farmers supplying southern counties who are all fantastic farmers, but it's getting them to work together in a much more, I guess you could call it, organised approach, so we all get the benefit. And that's what Blade is. It's really a supply chain mechanism that we franchise to finishers.
The rearing farmers work directly with us, but we have a very concise relationship with them. We like them to work to a set protocol. And the same with the finishing farmers as much as anything else, though. It is quite an easy protocol to follow as far as the finishing farmers are concerned. It's something that's standard to everybody's farming business. We need to be sure that what they're feeding is standard product throughout the whole system. Really, that doesn't mean that they have to buy a bag of cake from the same manufacturer. What we want to do is it's a forage-based system, and we want to see people using their own homegrown forage, and then we will provide advice through our feed partners or feeding partners to support their homegrown forage and to make a mix which is going to achieve the criteria that we're trying to do for our customers. Really.
What would you say are the key things in producing these animals as efficiently as possible?
I think the number one thing, and we're very lucky here, forage is the absolute key. With wheat at £180 a tonne, feeding these cattle on corn is not an option. So we spend an awful lot of time analysing grass and make sure we balance our feed at grass with the cake that we're giving them. We spend a lot of time analysing our forage maize as well as our grass silage, and we probably spend more time than a lot of farmers just making sure the ration's right. We would look at our rations once a month with our local advisor and just make sure everything's moving nicely. Plus we weigh every month as well, so we can track exactly any change we're making at the ration. Is that live weight gain exactly where we want it to be, and to make sure that's going along well. So, and of course obviously consistency of cattle as they come in. I can't alter that, so as long as they're consistent when they arrive here, with the feeding technology that's around today, we can definitely feed them correctly and get them to exactly the spec they need to be.
We select our finishers according to their ability to work within our system. It doesn't suit everybody. We're aware it doesn't suit everybody in the business, but how we select them is basically they need to be farm assured. They need to be happy to be able to work to a prescribed production system, and if they are, then we can then move on and start to put them on a contract or franchise basis where we arrange the delivery of the calves according to their requirements. We sign a contract and a schedule for each group of animals. We put the tag numbers alongside those animals, and then we prescribe the finishing period, which would be maybe 18 to 20 months hence from the time the calves have arrived on the farm.
How old are the calves when they come into a unit like this?
They range from 7 days up to 28 days. We try and get them as tight together as possible, just so they go out as an even batch.
And how many units have you got like this?
We've got 16 ranging from Cornwall up to Shropshire, and I oversee them all and travel to see every unit every fortnight.
Basically it's consistency. I want all the calves to arrive in here within 5 kilos of each other, so they arrive between 125 and 130 kilos, and that means I can farm them all the way through so that the whole group can go out within 5 kilos of live weight as well, and with the same genetics in there, that will definitely happen and makes my life a million times easier, makes them much easier to manage, much easier to feed, and just much easier to farm.
What would you say are the most important things that you have to do to make sure that these calves basically grow as they should?
Basically we've got to make sure we get them in a tight age range, that they're all healthy when they're coming in, and that when they're into the unit we treat them all the same. When they come in we give them a Risperdal and Intranasal at the nose, because obviously they come from around probably about 100 different farms, so you've got all those bugs coming into one unit, so you want to treat them all the same. So if you treat them with all the same medicines and preventative, it helps the batch to form together. So they come in with a Risperdal and Intranasal at the nose, then they have an antibiotic in the milk for the first 7 days, and then also Decox in the milk up to weaning to control coccidiosis.
We are very lucky, we have a very good relationship with our local veterinary practice. Fortunately, as these are all blade farming calves, they're all treated for pneumonia before they come here, so touch wood, we don't get an awful lot of pneumonia here, but we do quite detailed full herd health planning, and basically the vet is part of the team. We have 4 or 5 people that are integral parts of our team: our nutritionist, our agronomist, our vet, and our accountant, and our bank manager, I would guess, and therefore all those people, I sometimes get them around a table and make sure we're all pointing in the same direction.
If you could look forward, say 10 years, where would you see blade farming in that time scale?
The growth potential we've got is massive. There's a real need for a business like ours in the industry, And I think my goal will be to be 50% of the Southern Counties supply, which will give us, you know, around about 1,000 to 1,200 a week in terms of cattle. And also we need to work further up in the country and get contract kills sorted out, you know, so we can actually get other producers further up in the country. So in 10 years' time, that's where I plan to be. And also, you know, we're part of the Hilton Food Group. We're big suppliers into Hilton over here, and you know, they've got retail packing facilities all over Europe. And I think the exciting thing for me is we could extend this out to Europe too.
And what sort of feedback are you getting from farmers you're working with?
We have quite a lot of interest. You know, some farmers, obviously it doesn't suit them to work within in a contract basis, but a lot of people are very interested in it. They like the idea that they can budget. They like the idea that they know the end price of their product, or of the beef animal, and they know that they're going to get paid at the end of it, and it's a solid sort of contract business as well.
Looking a little wider, how do you see the landscape in beef production at the moment in the UK?
I think we're seeing a real change in mindset, you know, in terms of quality and efficiency in the way people are doing things. I think the suckler industry is having a really hard time because their costs are higher, but yet their beef product is very similar in price to the dairy beef. And I think a lot of farmers will have to really look at their systems now and say, you know, do I need to keep the same size herds that I keep? I'm sure there's other key benefits in terms of the environment, but I think people are really now looking at the bottom line because there's no subsidy support system, you know, direct to the animal. So I think people are having a hard time looking at that. But I think we need to be quite blunt about it. You know, at the end of the day, a business has to stack up. And as Blade, we will do whatever we can to support that. And we're not just about dairy cross beef, we're also about the suckler industry. We do give them forward contracts too. But at the moment, it just seems that the profitability on dairy beef is better than suckle beef. So, you know, we're having some quite hard conversations with people at the moment.